Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be several tips about design aspects that are going to make them retain their value over time. So if you're new, my name's Katherine and I actually work in the pre-loved industry. I work for a luxury resale company, so I've handled every type of bag under the sun, vintage, contemporary, brand spanking new out of the boutique. So I see bags at basically every stage of their life cycle. Some of them are in terrible condition, almost falling apart by the seams, and a lot of the time they're brand spanking new out of the box. So there are certain aspects of design for handbags that are going to cause them to retain their value a little bit better. But one of the key points about bags retaining their resale value over time is their condition. The longer something looks good and shiny and new and beautiful, the more of its value it has the potential to retain. There's a couple of key points that I like to look for, and think of this as a guideline to keep your bags looking new and fresh and shiny and beautiful for that much longer. Let me know what you guys think about these design aspects. Obviously, if you know me, then you know that some of these are my preference anyway, and it just so happens that as a professional reseller, a lot of my preferences go in line with the bags being able to retain their value. So maybe that could be of use to you. Let me know if there's anything that you guys are looking for when you go and shop on the resale market. So with that, let's get started. These are the things that you want to look for when you're buying a bag for it to hold its value. Now, a lot of you guys have been with me for a while, and you know that I love a good structured bag. While this is part of my personal aesthetic for designer bags, structured bags definitionally will maintain their shape for a lot longer than a lot more slouchy and hobo bags. First and foremost, it's going to stand upright, most likely on its own. It probably has like a base where there is wear on the bottom of it that it's not going to necessarily transfer or get scratches or scuffs to other areas of the bag, if that makes sense, because it is standing on its own. It has its own like little, I don't know, structure, pressure points. It's not going to sag in quite the same way that a slouchier or softer bag will over time. It's going to keep that shape, and it's going to keep more of the original design, and over time, condition-wise, it's not going to look aged and used in quite the same way as some other slouchier bags will. So this is a point about stationary top handles. This is one that I don't typically like to go for. I love a good top handle bag, pretty much like I've said before. If a bag has a top handle and a shoulder strap, I probably love it. However, if those, especially on larger bags, if the strap or the top handle doesn't have the capacity to go down or to fall when it's not physically being carried. Examples here could be the Lady Dior. You can also have the Celine luggage line. What can happen is you end up trying to store it on a shelf, perhaps put it inside of an overhead bin, which we don't want to do. One way that a bag is going to age itself, it's going to look a lot more worn and used, is if the handle starts to look all wonky and stuff. That's going to decrease the value and make it a lot less desirable on the resale market. What you do want instead, ideally, is something that has the top handle, but when they're not in use, they have the capacity to go to fall down, and that makes it so that it requires a lot less space when it comes time to store it. So there are many reasons to reach for neutrals and dark colors, but lighter colored bags, while they are fun, while they are more unique and they definitely stand out in the crowd, you definitely have to be careful when it comes to color transfer, dirt, stains, watermarks, etc. Not to say that you shouldn't necessarily do this, but do be mindful, and you'll have to be a bit more careful than you will have to be with a black bag, with a coated bag, or with something that's a little bit more on the neutral side. One thing that I like to do, instead of going for like maybe a white bag, is bags that are taupe in color. Taupe is kind of the same color as dirt. Does that make sense? A bag that's taupe isn't going to show like dirtiness, for lack of a better word, in quite the same way that a brightly colored like pink, fuchsia, etc. are going to. Obviously, this is why a lot of people love black bags, but I will say that most collections don't need a whole bunch of black bags. If all you're gonna do is get black bags and you really only need like two. I like a little bit of a variety, as you can see, so it just but my variety tends to be more on the neutral side. Now, the next thing that you want to look for a bag that is going to look better over the course of time, the interior, is it a darker color? Now, very commonly with the interiors of bags, especially on the pre-loved market, you're going to see ink stains, makeup stains, oil, cosmetic stains. Now, I've done a whole video on things that you should not carry in your bag or things that you should do with your bags to retain their value and keep them in better condition over time that I will link down below in the comment section. But one great way to hide a lot of that staining is to go for bags that have a darker color interior. A lot of mine are lined in like burgundy. Just think about your own life and your own experience. If you are all excited about a bag and you go and open it up and it looks all dingy and gross inside of it, you're going to attribute less value to it because the condition is just not there. Now, while once again, this channel is anti-pens inside of bags, accidents do happen, and a darker colored interior is going to be a way to mitigate it. Another thing I really do tend to prefer when it comes to handbag interiors is the material that it's made of. On the one hand, yes, it is more luxurious to feel, you know, a beautiful supple leather on the inside of your bag, but not only does leather interior make it heavier, but it's also more likely to show wear. Suede is terrible at this. Suede, to be honest, looks like shit in photos. The way that it reflects light just makes it look like dingy, and there's really nothing you can do about that. But even a smooth leather interior, you'll notice like maybe there will be punctures or like little marks inside of it. It's why I like to go for bags that have a fabric lining or possibly even a microfiber. As I mentioned, these are going to be much lighter than a leather or suede, so it's definitely going to be a lot easier and more practical for you to carry. And things like keys and I don't know, any type of other sharper or more pointed things that are inside of your bag for whatever reason aren't going to necessarily like put those little puncture and like, you know, crease marks inside of it. Every couple of months I get on a new hobby horse. This season's hobby horse is magnetic closures, and let me tell you why. One of the most annoying things for me when I'm carrying a bag is for the clasp and the closure to be super fussy. Now, the fussier a bag is, the more handling you're going to have to do of it, the more likely you are to scratch it right front, dead center in front of the bag. So the more maneuvering you have to do on a bag, the more scratches you're likely to get, and also too, the more structure loss you're likely to create as a result. When a bag has a magnetic closure, it naturally is just going to want to close right on its own, and it's one of the most satisfying things for me in the bags in my collection. Hi from the future. I just really want to take a moment and demonstrate how amazing this bag and magnetic clasps are, and the right level of thought goes into the design of a bag. Using it is seamless. It's like perfect. And now all of a sudden you're thinking about something else. And the fact that bags that are 10 times probably more expensive than this don't have this irks me to no end. So I am all into magnets for 2023. Magnetic bags on the closures or bust. Now, this is one that I find a little bit overrated, if I'm being completely honest. Yeah, having feet is, you know, considered a plus for most people, but honestly, I don't think that this does quite what people are expecting it's gonna do. A lot of the time, especially with bigger bags, like it will have the feet on all four corners. The bags themselves usually will like slouch, but you will still see corner wear, you will still see like bottom scratches and marks. And I also too, the more metal hardware you have in a bag, the heavier that's going to make it. Every fraction of an ounce that you add of metal is going to make the bag that much heavier. I think that feet are okay. Like I would probably prefer a bag to have feet as opposed to not having feet, but I just don't quite think that they do as much as people give them credit for. So this is one that I've never heard anyone talk about, and let me know what you guys think. When I buy a bag, I buy it to carry it and I buy it to hold my things. I like a bag that has depth. It's gonna have more interior capacity if it's a little bit wider as opposed to narrow, and you're able to hold more stuff in it. Outside of this just being my own personal preference, bags that are wider are going to stand up on their own. Similarly to how we talked about structure earlier, its ability to stand up on its own and balance itself is so key. When you put it down, if it's constantly falling over, that runs the risk of it falling down from a height on a shelf. It could break, it could scratch, it could stain, it could get wet, it could fall into something. If you're out carrying it and you're at a restaurant, if it's constantly falling into places in public, ideally you want something that is going to hold the shape, but also be able to stand up on its own. I can't tell you the number of times that bags have fallen off of a shelf because they just don't want to stand up, and over time they will break. If you do love bags like this, I will say that it is better to store them on a stand of some sort. I can leave a couple of examples linked down below. You can find them on Amazon and places like that. I also recommend carrying a purse hook, so that way you just have a place for it to hang because it's not going to stand up on its own. So for the longest time, I couldn't figure out why I wasn't into a lot of like the current bag trends, notably like the little hobo bags. All of these are, in my opinion, not likely to maintain their condition and ergo resale value down the line. So be very careful. I know we all like to be trendy and everything like that. Like working in the resale industry, I see what these bags look like down the road, and all of this does not give me high hopes for the future. So these are bags that you love. Tread carefully and carry a purse hook. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was kind of something that was requested by one of you in my YouTube community tab. As always, I want to let you know that I get my best video recommendations from your questions. If you have anything that you'd like to see, definitely leave that in the comments below. And I'm actually going to leave my video linked here of all the things that you shouldn't do to keep your bags in good. I think that's what you should want to see next. So with that, take care, and I'll see you guys in my next one.